All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the C Show. I got Chris here, and I got my girl Kelly from Cocoa Beach, Florida, and we're going to not really debate, but we're going to discuss two of my favorite cases tonight. And the first one we're going to start off with was the Bonnie Lee Blakely murder and the trial of Robert Blake. Kelly, how are you tonight?
I'm good. How are you?
I am excellent. So you're a fan, true crime fan. I'm sure you followed this case. What's your take on Beretta? Guilty, innocent, didn't prove the case. What do you think?
I think guilty, but didn't prove the case. Not sure what he did or how he did it, but
You
guilty,
think
but definitely didn't prove it.
Did you think the man was involved in her murder?
Yes.
Uh, okay. How? I mean, what ties do you think?
Well, he had two different stuntmen say that he
Yeah,
had solicited them.
right. And what
Which
happened to
is,
those guys?
yeah, solicitation were both hung juries. One was hung, one was not guilty.
Well, yeah, it was 11-1 on the hung
Yes.
jury.
Yeah, and the one stuntman, they brought up his mental faculties, and the other one they brought up their criminal charges.
And if I'm not mistaken, they were both, or one was offered a misdemeanor plea. I mean, I remember that it was very damning when the prosecution had these guys on the stand, and when the defense got a hold of them, I put no credibility in those two men at all.
Yeah, that's really only one of the only things that I'm hung up on. The other thing I'm hung up on is he had no gun residue on his hand.
Well, he had gunpowder residue on his hands, but on the cross examination, the state's expert admitted that it was consistent with somebody who carried a firearm or somebody who held a firearm.
Correct.
So it did not reach a level of him actually pulling the trigger. And we know that Blake carried a firearm. So, that was what, so they could not, so it wasn't enough to say that he pulled the trigger. And the murder weapon wasn't his.
Right. Murder weapon was the pistol that he went back in for wasn't the pistol that killed her. So, I mean, I'm hung up on if two people come forward and say you did, then I kind of feel like you knew you did attempt it. But if he attempted it, they definitely didn't. He did it very well because they did not have anything on him.
I mean, and I'm thinking too, if I remember right, his offer was like $5,000 or something for these guys.
Yeah, it wasn't much. It was like 5,000.
Yeah, this is a millionaire, and he's offering $5,000 to kill these guys. And that's possible that he could have said, I wish I she was dead, or I wish I could give somebody, pay her, and then they've turned that in there. But as far as evidence, man, I look at it. I see an innocent man. I mean, I don't. If they had to be somebody that was that if it wasn't him and he wasn't involved in him, somebody wanted her dead because they knew,
which highly possible. Lonely Hearts ads, right?
But then this person had they made a big deal out of remember the prosecution where Beretta parked. Well, he always parked in weird places.
And this was weird. This was weird. It was on a side street, but around the corner from the restaurant and behind a construction dumpster across the street.
Yes, and I believe that's where the murder weapon was found.
Right.
He parked but then when they said that, he parked, that was not unusual because he always parked in some kind of weird place. Right. The only thing that I guess that I'm hung up on is that I'm licensed to carry a firearm. I carry it. I've never left my weapon in a restaurant booth. I've never left my weapon, anywhere and had to go back in and retrieve it.
Right.
So then you got if somebody was wanting them dead, wanting her dead, and they're following them, they've got to, they must have been stalking. There's a window of opportunity, and they go shoot her. Is it possible? Yeah, sure, that's possible. But there's no way I could have convicted the man. Not from what they.
No, not from what they put out. Now that being said, I in diving into it today, I do kind of have a stalking possible person because I thought of that.
Yeah.
I did think of that theory, and what we didn't see was how that restaurant is set up. So let's say he had the pistol in, I don't know, a pocket, and you sit down on a chair. You're having dinner. You may not notice if somebody grabbed that pistol and just moved it enough that when you got out of the car, I don't have my pistol. I got to go back in. At that point, they can go and shoot her. My other thought was, did he walk her out, shoot her with the murder weapon they found, and then go back in asking for it to give himself a alibi? I did think of that too, but I don't think he would have backtracked.
But then you've still got to come up, unless you had gloves or something like a gunpowder residue on his hands.
Which could only be explained if he'd have put gloves on. They didn't find gloves anywhere in the alley. Well, I'm saying alley. I guess it was actually more like a side street. They didn't find any gloves anywhere. Whether he disposed of it on the way and they never thought to look, I don't know. But if not, someone stalked her and stalked her well.
And there was a lot of people that wanted this woman dead. Let's not forget.
Oh yeah.
I'm surprised. I don't remember a lot, but Christian Brando was a huge name that kept popping up in that.
Yes. There was actually 4 big names that she was pursuing at one time or another.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay. Who was the other one?
It was Jerry Lee Lewis.
Really?
Yes. Dean Martin.
Dean Martin?
Yeah, Dean Martin. She at one time was trying to pursue him. Jerry Lee Lewis.
So when was she pursuing? Dean died, I believe, in '95. When was she?
Early '90s. Early '90s.
So right before she died. Okay.
Yeah. So when she done the Lonely Heart scams, she left school at 16. She went to New York City. She started the Lonely Heart scams. Somehow, she ended up in Memphis, Tennessee.
Okay.
Bought a few houses and then decided, no, I'm going to try a acting and musical career in LA. So early 90s is when she moved out there. There doesn't seem to be an exact year that she moved out there.
She's going after these old, Christian wasn't that old, but for the most part, she's going after these older men actors who are way, past their prime, so to speak.
Yeah. The top 3, well, there was 4 aside from Christian Brando.
Who was the other one?
Dean Martin, Jerry Lee Lewis, Frankie Valli, and Gary Busey.
Oh my God!
I
didn't know this.
Yeah. So I just, in researching today, I found that she had dealings, interactions, pursuing them. They said she was almost stalking. She almost had like a stalking mentality to her.
Gary Busey, Frankie Valli, Jerry Lee Lewis, and Dean Martin.
Yep.
And the thing is, like, she wasn't even that attractive of a lady. I mean,
no.
I mean, not, and to think that she, and of course these are older men, but I had no idea that she had went. Remember people talked about that. She had that groupie or whatever they said. Yep. I think it was, but I didn't realize that she was going after these 5 celebrities like that.
with Brando seeming to be her most possessive, shall we say? When
Now, how old was
she,
Brando at the time?
yes. So when her and Blake had the child, she told Brando it was his.
Well, I remember that. Now, I do
Right.
remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Now,
then
how old was Brando? Do you remember how old he was at the time? Well, I can find it out.
not right off. I'm not sure right off. If I
Okay.
had to guess, I know I'm 41. I know he's much older than me. I'll say 50s.
Yeah, I would say that's what I was thinking too. He'd probably be somewhere around that age. But I'm sorry. So yeah, I remember that she said that. That she said that they the kid was Brando's. I don't know if the
Yep.
DNA test was ever performed or not, but I mean, I've seen the
It
kid
was.
like. Okay, the kid they did have a DNA
Yep.
test.
Blake. She told Brando it was his. Then she said
Uh huh.
told Blake she wasn't sure. And so
Okay.
at that time, Blake told her, you're going to have to do a paternity test. I'll petition the court if you don't do one. She done one, turned out to be Blake's, not Brando's.
Well, yeah, I was fixing to say. I mean, I haven't. I just the other day we started talking about this. I looked her up. She looks just like there ain't no denying that's Blake's kid.
Yeah. Yeah, she does. She looks just like her dad. So
And
but what gets me about it is Blake offers to marry her, and she does. But she lives in the guest house. Like they don't
right,
live
I remember that.
together.
Yes, I remember that.
They
Christian
they don't
Brando
live together.
in Christian Brando would have only been in his early 40s at that time. He died at 49, so he would have been late 30s, early 40s around this time. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
remember that she lived in the guest house. I mean, I think from Blake, I remember him talking. He was crazy about that kid. Uh,
right.
I don't. There's no doubt in my mind about that. I don't think he cared anything in the world about her. Um, but
I
I,
would agree. He
but I
he
know he
told
loved.
her she could live there in the guest house.
Yeah, I know he was crazy about that kid. Um, I mean, I don't think that Robert Blake is mentally capable enough to organize something like this. I've listened to the guy. The guy's nuts. I mean, I don't think he has the mental capacity to put together some kind of plan like this.
Well, and that for me would be an argument for the prosecutor that he was crazy enough to do it. But it's funny you should mention that because there were speculations during the trial that he's lost his mind, he doesn't know what he's doing, that kind of thing. And there was actually a comment made during the trial that he had, because he had been a child actor and had grown up in the business, that he had everything done for him. That's why he had no problem going to a stuntman and going, "Hey, kill my wife."
well, I'm just basing that off. And this was years later. I don't know what his state was then, but I watched that interview with him on Pierce Morgan.
Yeah,
Is that his name? And I was
yeah,
just like,
Piers Morgan.
I was listening to him like, oh my God, this guy's absolutely he's insane.
Yeah, and to not think, for me, the big issue was to not think that a reporter wouldn't ask you questions about that. Of course, he's going to ask you questions about that. That it was a relatively recent event as far as him being out of jail. Of course, that's what's going to be asked. For him to go, well, now I feel like I'm being interrogated. Well, what did you think was going to happen?
Yeah, when you come on, to be a show like that, you're going to be questioned about that murder. Um, I remember, and I'm sure you've watched it too. I can't believe that, and I don't know what it was. The holdup was. I'm sure it was probably just had to be one person, but for them to be out, I think the jury was out 19 days before they
Yes.
returned a verdict.
19, yep, 19 days before they returned a verdict. Um, it, it unsure exactly what it hinged on. I couldn't find exactly, what made them, go one way or the other, or what the holdup was.
Well, I'm guessing it was that one person because
Yeah.
if it's a not guilty and then not guilty and then 11-1 deadlock not guilty. I mean, there was one person that was that was holding out or something was holding out.
Right.
Because that 19 days is a long time for a jury not to come back with a verdict. I mean,
Yeah,
somebody.
and something else that is strange. The prosecution was not good on a motive. However, I thought the defense kind of was. The prosecution's only real motive was that he wanted out of the marriage.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Because the prosecution came with no forensic evidence, hardly at all.
Even the
It was very.
prosecution. Oh, I'm sorry.
It was very. Oh no, you're fine. It was very easy though for the defense to come back and say, look, this is all circumstantial. He's clearly just a victim of circumstantial. And to me, that tells me that that was probably what the jury was semi hung on. There's nothing showing me. There just wasn't anything definitive.
The prosecutor even admitted. One prosecutor got mad. One of the prosecutors got mad that that jury was stupid, and I said, well, you should have proved it. And then one of the ladies who helped prosecute the case later admitted, said, we had nothing on him. We had nothing to go, nothing absolutely to go on. It was basically we were winging it.
Yeah, exactly. And the other funny comparison, if you will, is that it was an LA courtroom, and just like years prior in the O.J. Simpson case, 3 of her kids went and then did a civil suit, and he was found to be liable for her death.
Yeah, because the civil suit and those things, you don't have much. You don't have to prove really anything.
No, you don't.
I mean, you're going to prove it. Yeah, you're going to lose in a civil suit. I mean, just about everybody is.
The only thing was he appealed it. He was found liable to the tune of $30 million. Now, I don't care if you're pursuing actors or not. If that was based on what they thought she was worth, there's no way the woman was worth $30 million. There's no way. If it was based off of his income, okay, I can see 30 million. But that being said, he actually ended up appealing it. They upheld the judgment. He was found liable, but they cut the amount in half at 15 million. He had to file for bankruptcy.
Well, I was fixing to say, that stage of his career when this happened, he was in his 70s. I'm sure he still had some money, but he wasn't working anymore like he was.
Right.
And I'm sure that his defense attorneys took a huge chunk of change from him defending it.
I would think so, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because I forgot. I mean, I even forgot who his lead attorney was now, but he was. He had 3 different ones, and they kept stepping down. But he had some big name attorneys, and I'm sure that was, costing him a lot of money there, just his defense alone. So I'm sure by the time and he paid $1.5 million to let out on bail, and I think he put up another $1 million to get his security guard out of bail. Originally they charged them 2 with conspiracy, and the judge dismissed the count or just dismissed the charge.
Correct.
The security guard or whatever it was. So yeah, I'm sure Blake didn't have much left. And when they were reading that, I've watched it a million times, and Blake's sitting there looking at the jury foreman. He looked scared to death to me.
Yeah. He, it's a hard one. There are no other. Usually in cases you can look and go, I just don't think he done it. My problem with this one, who else would have? Lots of people wanted her dead for the Lonely Heart scams, I'm sure. But she didn't complain of anyone stalking her. it's not known that anybody was there, and that's hard. That literally put him front and center.
Okay, I can see that. But that being said, would you vote to convict him?
Yeah, he was her 10th husband, so
No, I said, would you have voted to convict Blake?
no, I wouldn't have.
No.
They did not have enough circumstantial evidence. Yeah,
I mean, not. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's basically they just accused him.
right. Yeah,
I mean, that's
they didn't have enough. Yeah.
even.
Regardless of how she lived her life, she didn't deserve to be gunned down.
Well, yeah,
Um,
probably.
but I can't find another. I cannot in all of my research find another suspect.
But then the question's got to be next. Then, who did Blake actually hire to do it, and who did it? Because stuntmen we know didn't do it.
Right.
Then they dismissed it against the his security guard. So
Right.
who did Blake hire?
Right.
Was there money? I don't remember any money transfers.
Nope.
Large money transfers taking place. Did he have some cash in the house in the safe? Yeah, I'm pretty sure he probably did. Is this enough to hire a stuntman to kill somebody? Yeah, or hire a hitman? I don't know. I don't know how much a hitman goes for. How you even we go about looking for one.
Right.
So I mean, and then again, so let's say he did even solicit these other two men, or say that. Well, if they didn't do it, how's that still convict him? That's I just they didn't just they had nothing really for me to go on. I mean,
no, they didn't, and circumstantial evidence cases are extremely difficult. You have to have a whole lot of timed events that take place that you can't
right.
can't argue out of, basically.
Circumstantial evidence is just as strong as direct. That's what they tell you.
Right.
But I'm sorry. You go ahead and finish your statement that she was making.
No, but because of that, they and them not having anything definitive, that's what the problem was. They had nothing definitive at all.
I mean, I'm looking at it as, they had even very little circumstantial evidence. I mean, it wasn't his weapon. It was just residual gunpowder. 2 stuntmen with mental and criminal history. I don't even know how you got an indictment on them.
There could be a couple reasons. One of my theories was that the stuntman heard she was killed, knew of him, and just thought, this is a great money-making opportunity. I'll put myself back in the spotlight. We'll see what happens. My other theory was that because that circumstantial evidence was just not overly great. The other thing was, even if he could go to the restaurant, or, come out of the restaurant, shoot her, go back to the restaurant, even then, technically, you would have to time that. He was in his 70s.
Right.
So I could maybe poke holes in that. But if I'm a defense attorney, I'm going to tell him, take your time walking from right here to the restaurant and back. I'm not going to tell him to run. I'm not going to tell him.
Yeah.
It's awfully easy to poke a hole in that.
Yeah. I mean, even somebody, that wasn't in their 70s, since I wouldn't see them running or anything, just normal pace. How long is it going to take? I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
And then, like you said, him being in his 70s, I'm sure it took him a little bit longer. But, he seemed to get around okay at that age. I don't know what kind of shape he was in, but he's still, I think, 88 now or something?
Yeah, he's 88, 87, 88 now. I mean, he could have been able to, I was at a kind of a jogging pace and done it, but if I'm a defense attorney, I'm gonna go show them the pace that you did it at, and hope that he gets the hint to not go very fast. So
Yeah,
it would be very easy to poke a hole in that.
It would be very. How long did they say it took to walk to the?
I think it was something weird. It was like 8.5 or 9 minutes to walk there and then walk back. The car wasn't far. See, that's they're saying a construction dumpster, but from what I understand, we're talking a 6 or 8 foot construction dumpster. So we're not talking a very big dumpster. We're not talking a big long one that would go on the back of a truck. So he was parked up, and then behind that, which, as I'm now saying this, the stalking theory, did he maybe always park in strange places because he knew he was being stalked?
I don't know. I mean, I've heard that just he was such an eccentric character that he just parked in odd areas.
Yeah.
I've been known to do that. Park in weird places. Just I don't know why, but Blake was is very eccentric, to say the least.
Yeah, he parked in a straight, and it could just be, look, the paparazzi knows my car. I don't want to be seen. It could have been something as simple as that to him, or maybe he didn't think that, but someone put that in his head at one point, so then he always did it. But we're not talking a very far distance. I would say, looking at the maps I saw today, I mean, we're talking, I don't know, 600, 800 feet maybe.
And Blake, I remember he originally testified that the reason he had got this weapon was for protection because of her, or to protect her.
Right.
The thing about getting out of a loveless marriage, okay, but she lived in a guest house, so the only thing I can think of is that you have to go a step further, is if Blake was worried about her getting total custody of the child.
Well, I looked at that. I thought of that and looked at that today. In their prenup, they actually put in there that if one or the other wanted a divorce, so let's say Bonnie decided she wanted a divorce, automatic custody went to the other person.
Okay.
Now, her lawyers advised her, do not sign it.
So that's very interesting. I'm sorry, you said her lawyer said?
The lawyer said don't sign it.
So if Blake had asked for a divorce, then she would have got automatic custody.
Correct. So they're saying that was part of it.
She's not going to ask for a divorce.
Yeah, she was still living in the guest house regardless.
Right.
So, and I couldn't really find anything as far as a prenup goes, but her lawyer said don't sign it. This whole thing is lopsided. Don't sign it. And she went on ahead and signed it anyway. She signed it in October, married him in November.
I seen something where I didn't get into it deep, but the child finally spoke out. Did you read anything about that?
Yeah, I actually watched the interview with her.
Did you?
Yeah, she was adopted by her siblings. Her sibling and her sibling's husband actually adopted her. She remembers going to see him like in the jail. She does remember that. She said he would come over and things were always friendly, but she doesn't have a very close relationship with him.
So, I'm sorry to interrupt you. And I wasn't aware of this. So Blake didn't get custody back of the kid after the trial, or?
Nope. He let the siblings have her.
So is this something that he signed over, or the court's taken away, or what? What you
Nope.
know exactly?
When he was found guilty, or I'm sorry, not found guilty, when he was arrested, he went on ahead and gave her, I believe it's his daughter that she lives with. It's her and her husband, and she lives basically a normal. Well, she's like 21 now, 22, but she just lives a normal early 20 something life. She said things were always friendly with her dad. She knows who her dad is and things, but it's not a very very close relationship. The last couple years she has tried to get closer to him. So you know who knows where that'll go, but she says he would come and get in the floor and play with her and things. So she has what appears to be nothing but good memories. Her sister has made sure that she's grown up as normal as possible. Seems like a very well adjusted girl, but yeah, she says it's not a she is not overly, close to
That's
him.
interesting. So I never looked that back up. Blake, because I remember the picture. There's a picture of Blake at the funeral or something holding the kid, but I didn't know. I didn't realize Blake gave up, custody of her. That kind of throws that theory out the window. Then too, if he killed
Yep.
her custody, yeah. I would actually watched it again today when that verdict. I mean, just when he was just waiting to read the verdict, I mean, the look on his face was just so, I don't know how to, almost like a puppy dog or something. I mean, it was just a fear and anxiety, anticipate, and then what was that? You remember he said, I can't remember if he said it on I think he said it in the after the trial in the parking lot or something. He wanted to let's say go cowboying or something, where you get in a van and drive up the interstate, and what place, and you end up in some little dive bar playing a nine ball with a one armed Portuguese woman who beats the hell out of a 90-year-old one armed Portuguese woman who beats the hell out of you.
Yeah, there was something to that effect. And there was also a group of people who had watched the trial, believed he was not guilty, and then celebrated at the restaurant she was killed outside of.
Uh, I,
I
I
believe in
mean,
mine was that one, didn't I?
yeah, I mean, kind of tasteless. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, just a little bit. Yeah,
uh,
they went, and then yeah, it's totally bizarre to me. But yeah, they were like waiting for the verdict, waiting for the verdict. Oh, great, he's not guilty. Let's go to the restaurant.
I mean, I really don't have a problem with somebody celebrating the not guilty, but I probably wouldn't go to the restaurant when she was killed. This is the
Yeah, it's a little morbid. It's a little morbid.
um, I remember when like Nancy Grace, who I'm not a fan of at all. When they returned the verdict in the Casey Anthony trial, and that night, what's the attorney's name? Diaz or
Yeah, Jose Baez.
Jose Baez? Yeah, they said him and his defense counsel they went down to this local bar or something, and they was having drinks and celebrating. And I was like, well, and she was making mad about that. I'm like, well, I mean, they won. I'd probably be celebrating too.
Yeah.
So I guess history will have to judge Robert. Everybody that I know, basically, they say that the same thing that you said. Well, I believe he's guilty, but I wouldn't convict him. And maybe he
Yeah.
was guilty involved in it. It seems to me though that so many people, if they get accused, then they're branded. Whatever the verdict is for the rest of their life, they did it. And I know
Right.
that in some cases that is true, but once you're accused, you can forget it. Once you've been accused of something, you might as well scarlet letter. Uh, you know, I kind of agree with you. I don't know who else could have done it, but I couldn't have convicted Brett. So, any final thoughts on that one right there before we go in?
No, I am certain that I'm 90% certain he did it. But he got away with it. I have no way to say how he did it.
Now, when you say, did it, are you meaning like he actually pulled the trigger or
Uh,
just bought
I'm not sure. I'm pretty
it? Okay.
sure he in some way orchestrated it, but
Okay.
uh,
Okay.
he did he did extremely well at covering his tracks, and I think it'll remain one of those that stays unsolved.
Yeah. I mean, if he did it, um, he did a good job of covering his tracks. Uh, I just, I don't think Robert Blake was mentally stable enough to pull that off. Then again, maybe he was crazy like a fox. But anyway, I guess this has been fun. Until next time, I'll talk to you later, Kelly.
All right, thank you.